Hello everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video. Today we're going to create a fun glow-in-the-dark card project using this adorable Art Impressions Slimline Halloween stamp set. The stamp set comes with the coordinating dies, and the packaging of the stamp set is always a great thing to keep on hand because it's going to be a great guide for you for coloring your stamped images. Before I work on stamping though, I want to create a background that this piece will be able to sit on. So I'm pulling out this really cool Spellbound stencil from Holtz, and we're going to use grit glow paste through that stencil to create a starry glow-in-the-dark background. To create this glow-in-the-dark background, I started first by ink blending a piece of cardstock that's 4x6. We're making a 5x7 card here. I'm going to ink blend first with marine, giving a light blue color to have as a glow, and then I'm going to add a little bit darker color around the edges in royal to give me that nice deep sky feel. I'm using our Simon Says Stamp blending brushes to apply the ink, and I'm working on top of our Simon Says Stamp magnetic glass mat. I added a little bit of ground along the bottom using Perfection ink, and I'm going to just fade that out towards the blue color. So now we have our scene here, and we're going to take the Spellbound stencil and we're going to apply the grit glow paste through that stencil, and I'm going to try to cover the entire background with this. So I'm going to apply the stencil at a little bit of an angle on the left hand side, and then I'll start applying the paste through that. This glow paste is fantastic for creating glow-in-the-dark effects for not just Halloween, but all year round too. After I applied the first layer of paste through that stencil, I'll gently pick it up, and then I'm going to shift it over and apply it to the other side. And I'm just going to be careful as I apply this down so that way I don't mess up any of the paste I've already applied. But now we have a full background covered with this stencil. I love how these stars look on top of this background. They're completely dry at this point and ready for our images to go on top. So I have my images from the stamp set inside of my Misty tool, and I'm going to stamp them onto some Hammermill white cardstock. I want to Copic color these, so I'm using our Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink to stamp the images because this is a Copic safe ink. I'm going to color these images very similar to the colors that are used on the stamp packaging. It's a great guide for choosing your colors and knowing where each image is. So I first started with the pumpkins, and I colored those in 2 different shades of oranges. If you're curious about any of the Copic colors that I use today, I do have them all listed in the video description and over on the blog too. I then colored in the animals, and I tried to use neutral colors for them because I wanted to be able to have them not be too competing against all these fun pumpkins. So I used E30 markers for the brown areas, and those brown areas I also used to color in the stems of the pumpkins. I then used E13, 17, and 19 to color in the fox. Because the fox is orange, I didn't want him to get lost in between all these pumpkins, so I went with something on the reddish-brown side to color him in. Of course, we have to color in the raccoon in some grays to create that black and white color palette. So I used darker grays for the black areas and then lighter grays for the rest of his body, and I also pulled in some of those light grays for some of the white areas on the other animals. I added blush to their cheeks, and then we're going to color in all the accessories. I picked purples, greens, and red for the accessories. So the witch hat here is colored with those purples and greens. I'm going to color the wagon purple and red. And then I also colored in the leaves that I've stamped with red, yellow, and green. I wanted these colors to exude a very nice fall, bright color palette. So between the pumpkins and then these fun other colors, we have a really cool Halloween color scheme. Once the images are colored in, we're ready to die cut. I'm going to take the coordinating dies and hold them in place with our Simon Says Stamp very, very low tack tape. That way they don't shift as I run them through my die cut machine. And all these fun little pieces, I'll be able to now start gluing onto my scene to form our card. I'm going to use liquid glue of our Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky to attach elements like the hat, the spiders, and the leaves onto my scene. I'm also going to use my Place and Pierce tool to help me maneuver these pieces into the exact location where I want them. And then finally, that fun main image of the stack of pumpkins, we're actually going to go ahead and use some foam tape to attach that down. I wanted the foam tape to give this a little bit of dimension off of the rest of the scene, which gives it some great separation from the background. This will also look really cool when the stars are glowing. You'll be able to see those stars glowing from behind the pumpkin stack. Any areas where I felt like we needed a little bit more of a highlight, I brought in a white gel pen, and I'll use that on the critters, the wagon, and the pumpkins. Whenever I make a scene like this, I always like to ground my images with some shadings, so I used a green Copic marker to add the shading under the wagon. I'm going to put this onto a 5x7 card base, but I do want to mat the edges of this card panel, which again is 4x6, with something fun. So I picked out some of our Simon Says Stamp holographic cardstock, and this is going to give me a really fun border around this card, and it really accentuates the fun colors and the stars in the scene. I'm going to put this entire piece onto a 5x7 card base, which we have available at Simon Says Stamp as pre-made card bases. They're pre-cut and scored for you, so all you have to do is fold it over and you have a card handy. The last thing we need to do is add a sentiment, so I'm going to pull out this Trick or Treat set from our Simon Says Stamp collection, and I'm going to stamp the greeting, Happy Halloween. I'm going to stamp this with clear embossing ink because I do want to heat emboss this onto the black cardstock. So once I prep the surface of the paper with our Simon powder tool, then I'm going to stamp the sentiment, bring in some white embossing powder, and I'll sprinkle that over top, and then I can take my heat tool and set this. I always like heating the back side of the paper first before bringing it to the front, so that way I get a cleaner embossing. The coordinating dies are great for cutting out the sentiments, so I'm going to use that die to cut this sentiment down, and I'll use my very, very low-tech tape again to hold this in place. Once I've cut it, I can then put a little piece of foam tape on the back side and stick this along the top of the card, and I did put it at an angle, which I think is fun. Adds to the playful feel of this card. I love that holographic paper, adding that fun shine around the edges, and the best part is that these stars glow. Check out how fun that glow-in-the-dark effect is using the grit glow paste through the stencil, and then our adorable Halloween critters on top using the SLIMLINE Halloween set from Art Impressions. I hope you were inspired by this video and enjoyed seeing this Halloween card project. It's a simple one to put together, so if you're looking for last-minute Halloween inspiration, you might want to try this project out. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I will be back soon to share more with you all, but until then, I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at SimonsSaysStamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.